The hip-hop world didn't just stop breathing, it collapsed into silence. Sirens screamed. Phones lit up. Group chats froze mid-sentence. And one name echoed across every platform at the same time. Remy Ma. What was supposed to be a normal day detonated into a full-scale emergency when reports began flooding in that the Bronx icon had suffered a sudden medical crisis, so severe it sent shockwaves through the industry. But the moment that shattered everyone was what happened to Remy. It was what Papoose did next. Eyewitnesses say he dropped everything. No security, no entourage, no delay, he ran. And when he reached the hospital, something snapped. Staff tried to move him. Family tried to reason with him. He refused. One phrase kept repeating through leaked whispers and shaky hallway footage. "I'm not leaving her." Not for food, not for sleep, not for anything. Within minutes, social media exploded. Fans were sobbing on live streams. Celebrities went eerily quiet. Rumors began spreading faster than facts. Was this exhaustion? A hidden illness? Something she'd been battling in silence while smiling for cameras? And why were insiders suddenly saying the situation was more serious than expected? Then came the first chilling leak, a message allegedly from inside the hospital that read, "He's preparing for the worst." That single sentence sent the internet into meltdown. Because if Papoose, the man known for strength, loyalty, and unbreakable composure, is breaking, what does that mean for Remy? And if this is the moment hip-hop is being forced to confront its most painful reality, yet, the question isn't what happened. The moment the doors slammed shut behind the gurney, everything changed. Inside that hospital, time fractured, and outside of it, the entire hip-hop world spiraled into panic. Remy Ma, the woman known for surviving prison, industry politics, and public scrutiny, was suddenly the one fighting for her life. And the only thing standing between chaos and collapse was Papoose refusing to move an inch. Insiders say his face went pale the second doctors uttered the words, "We need to act fast." And from that moment on, he transformed from husband to human barricade. No cameras, no questions, no distance. Just him and her, locked into a nightmare neither of them saw coming. According to eyewitnesses, the emergency unfolded with terrifying speed. Remy reportedly collapsed without warning, prompting frantic calls and a rushed transport that left everyone stunned. One source claims she was conscious one second and unresponsive the next, her body betraying her in a way that felt cruelly sudden. When Papoose got the call, he didn't ask questions. He didn't hesitate. He bolted. People inside the building where he was allegedly dropped bags, phones, even keys, watching him sprint like a man outrunning fate itself. By the time he reached the hospital, Remy was already being wheeled toward critical care, and that's when the tension ignited. Staff tried to slow him down. Protocols were mentioned. Security stepped forward. Papoose snapped back with a force that reportedly stunned everyone in earshot, making it clear he wasn't asking for permission. He was informing them. "That's my wife," he allegedly said, voice cracking, jaw tight. "I'm not leaving her." Within minutes, whispers began leaking out of the building, and the internet did what it does best when it smells fear. Twitter erupted with theories. Group chats filled with panic. Fans replayed old interviews, searching for missed signs. Had Remy been hiding something? Had she pushed too hard, smiled too wide, carried more than she ever admitted? The absence of an immediate official statement only made things worse. Silence became fuel, and speculation spread like wildfire. Inside the hospital, the atmosphere was reportedly unbearable. Doctors moved with urgency, their expressions carefully guarded. Nurses exchanged looks that fans would later describe as not reassuring. And Papoose? He planted himself at her bedside like a vow made flesh. Staff say he refused food, refused rest, refused to even sit properly, choosing instead to lean forward, elbows on knees, eyes locked on Remy as if daring her to leave him. Then came the first crack in the wall of privacy. A supposed insider message hit a gossip page claiming Remy's condition was more complicated than initially thought. No details, no diagnosis, just that phrase. It detonated online. Influencers went live, voices shaking. Prayer circles formed in comment sections. Even celebrities who rarely comment on drama suddenly went quiet, which only made fans more uneasy. As the hours dragged on, tension inside the hospital spilled into conflict. Sources say disagreements broke out between family members over access and information. Who should be in the room? Who should speak to doctors? Who actually knew what was going on? At one point, voices were raised loud enough that security reportedly stepped in to de-escalate a situation involving trust, control, and years of buried resentment. One person allegedly accused Papoose of knowing more than he was saying. He shot back that now wasn't the time for blame. That moment shifted the narrative. Fans online began asking sharper questions. Why would anyone think Papoose was holding something back? Had Remy confided fears to him she never shared publicly? Was this crisis the result of something long-term finally reaching a breaking point? Old clips resurfaced of Remy brushing off exhaustion, joking about pushing through pain, laughing away stress. Suddenly, those moments didn't look so harmless. By the end of the first night, the strain started showing on Papoose's face. Witnesses say his hands shook when doctors spoke. His eyes stayed glassy, red-rimmed, like he hadn't blinked in hours. One staff member allegedly overheard him whisper, "Please don't do this to me," so softly it barely sounded real. That single detail spread online and broke fans' hearts all over again. Then came the image that changed everything. A blurry hallway photo leaked showing Papoose slumped against a wall, head bowed, hands pressed to his face, looking less like a rapper and more like a man on the edge of losing his entire world. The photo disappeared almost as fast as it appeared, but not before thousands saved it. The caption that followed was simple and devastating. "He hasn't left her side." Celebrity reactions poured in next, each one adding weight to the moment. Messages of love, strength, and prayer filled timelines. But behind the supportive posts, insiders whispered that the medical team was still monitoring closely, which in hospital language rarely means comfort. The longer the silence stretched, the louder the fear became. And just when it felt like the night couldn't get heavier, a new rumor surfaced that sent chills through the fandom. Someone claiming to be connected to the situation hinted that doctors were discussing multiple possible outcomes. That phrase ricocheted across social media, interpreted in the darkest ways imaginable. Fans begged for clarification. None came. As dawn approached, Papoose was still there. Same clothes, same position, same refusal to move. One nurse allegedly suggested he take a break, get some air, drink water. He declined. Another reportedly told him he needed rest to stay strong. He replied that resting anywhere but beside Remy wasn't an option. That level of devotion inspired admiration, but it also raised alarms. People began whispering that his fear felt deeper than a sudden emergency, that it carried the weight of someone who'd been holding his breath for longer than anyone realized. And as the first rays of morning light crept through the hospital windows, one thing became painfully clear. Whatever was happening to Remy Ma was not just a scare. It was the opening chapter of a crisis that was only beginning to unfold, and the next revelation was already looming, waiting to break everything wide open. By the second day, the hospital no longer felt like a place of healing. It felt like a pressure cooker, and everyone inside could feel it tightening by the hour. Remy was still behind closed doors, machines humming softly, while the people who loved her were unraveling in real time. Papoose hadn't slept. That much was obvious. His hoodie hung off him like armor he forgot to remove, his eyes hollowed out by fear and adrenaline. Nurses whispered that he flinched every time a monitor beeped, as if each sound might be the one that shattered his world. Then the first real bomb dropped. A supposed hospital insider leaked a message claiming Remy's collapse wasn't random. The words underlying condition appeared vague but explosive, and they detonated across social media within minutes. Fans panicked. Commentators speculated. Old interviews resurfaced where Remy joked about being tired, about pushing through pain, about being built different. Suddenly, those jokes didn't feel funny at all. They felt like warnings no one wanted to hear. Inside the hospital, tensions escalated fast. Family members began demanding answers the doctors weren't ready to give. One source claims Remy's mother wanted a full briefing immediately, while someone from Papoose's side argued that too many voices would only complicate things. The disagreement reportedly turned sharp, with accusations flying about who knew what and when. Security was called again, not because of violence, but because emotions were boiling over and no one trusted anyone else to stay calm. Papoose, caught in the middle, snapped. Witnesses say his voice echoed down the hallway when someone suggested stepping away from the room to reset. He allegedly shot back that nothing in his life mattered more than being there when Remy opened her eyes. "If she wakes up and I'm not here," he reportedly said, "I'll never forgive myself." That sentence alone found its way online and broke fans all over again. Then came the leak that changed the tone from fear to dread. A blurry screenshot of an alleged private message from Papoose to a close friend began circulating. In it, he supposedly admitted he was terrified because doctors had discussed limited options if things didn't turn around soon. No timelines, no specifics, just enough to send shockwaves through the internet. Within an hour, #Pray for Remy was trending worldwide, joined by Stand with Papoose. Celebrities started reacting more urgently. Some posted prayer hands. Others went silent, which fans interpreted as the worst sign of all. When people who usually chase headlines suddenly stop talking, it feels like they know something the public doesn't. Even radio hosts who thrive on gossip softened their tone, calling for respect and patience, which only heightened the sense that this situation was serious. Back in the hospital, something unsettling happened. According to multiple sources, a nurse attempting a routine check was stopped at the door by Papoose himself. He allegedly asked who authorized the visit, demanded explanations for every medication, every test. Staff reportedly grew concerned that his hypervigilance, while understandable, was crossing into exhaustion-fueled paranoia. One insider said it felt like he was trying to control the one thing in his life that was slipping out of his hands. And then the confrontation that no one expected. Remy's estranged half-brother showed up unannounced. No warning, no phone call, just walked into the hospital demanding access. The timing alone raised eyebrows, but what happened next turned the tension nuclear. Papoose allegedly blocked him at the door, eyes blazing, voice shaking with rage. "You don't get to show up now," he reportedly said. "Where were you when she needed you before?" Voices rose. Accusations flew. Old family wounds ripped back open in front of hospital staff and stunned visitors. The half-brother reportedly accused Papoose of isolating Remy, of keeping people away under the guise of protection. Papoose fired back that the man had vanished from Remy's life long before any of this happened. Security intervened again, escorting both men away as nurses looked on in disbelief. Of course, it didn't stay private. Security footage from the lobby leaked hours later, showing fragments of the confrontation. No clear audio, but the body language said everything. Papoose standing rigid, refusing to budge. The other man gesturing wildly. The internet dissected every frame, choosing sides, inventing narratives, and asking the question no one could answer. What secrets were being dragged to the surface by this crisis? As night fell again, doctors reportedly called a closed-door meeting with immediate family. No phones allowed. No leaks. That silence lasted nearly 2 hours, and when the doors finally opened, the expressions on everyone's faces told a story they weren't ready to explain. Papoose emerged last, shoulders slumped, jaw clenched, eyes glassy. He didn't speak. He didn't look up. He just went straight back to Remy's room. Minutes later, a cryptic post appeared on his Instagram. No caption, just a photo of Remy's hospital bracelet and a single sentence. "Keep praying. They're not telling us everything." The internet exploded. Was that frustration? Fear? A warning? Fans demanded answers. Blogs refreshed every few seconds. Everyone knew that sentence wasn't accidental. Insiders began whispering that the doctors were struggling to determine whether Remy's condition was reversible or something she'd been quietly battling for months. Some claimed stress played a role. Others hinted at complications no one was ready to name publicly. Every theory made things worse, because no one knew what to believe anymore. By the third morning, Papoose's body finally betrayed him. Witnesses say he collapsed in the hallway after a sleepless night, his legs giving out under the weight of days of fear and refusal to rest. Staff rushed to him, trying to get him onto a stretcher, but even then, he allegedly fought them, insisting they treat him there so he wouldn't be taken away from Remy's room. "I'm not leaving her," he reportedly repeated, over and over, like a prayer and a command at the same time. That moment, captured by a bystander and briefly posted online before being taken down, shifted public opinion again. This wasn't control. This was terror. The kind that grips you when you feel the universe pulling something precious out of your hands and you're powerless to stop it. As the hospital stabilized Papoose just enough to keep him upright, a new rumor surfaced, darker than all the rest. Someone claiming to be close to the medical team hinted that the next update would change everything. No context, no details, just that chilling promise. And as the doors to Remy Ma's room remained closed, with Papoose once again at her side, the world held its breath, bracing for a truth that felt heavier than anyone was ready to carry. By the time the sun rose again, the hospital felt like it was holding its breath. The energy had shifted overnight, and everyone could feel it. Nurses moved quieter. Doctors avoided eye contact. Security lingered longer than necessary. Whatever had been discussed behind those closed doors was now shaping every decision, every whisper, every look exchanged in the hallway. And at the center of it all sat Papoose, unmoving, gripping Remy's hand like it was the only thing tethering him to reality. Then came the update no one was prepared for. A source close to the medical team leaked that doctors had discovered something during overnight testing that complicated everything. Not just a diagnosis, but a realization that Remy's condition wasn't isolated to one moment. It had layers, months, maybe longer. Suddenly, old footage started circulating again. Fans replayed interviews where Remy joked about being exhausted, about pushing through pain, about refusing to slow down. This time, the comments landed like gut punches. What once sounded like strength now sounded like survival. Papoose was reportedly blindsided. Insiders say he kept asking the same question over and over. Why didn't she tell me? Friends described him as shattered by the idea that Remy might have been carrying this weight alone, smiling for cameras while fighting something deeper in silence. One alleged text exchange, quickly deleted but already saved by fans, showed him writing, "I thought I was protecting her. I didn't know she was protecting me." That line broke the internet. As speculation spiraled, the family fractures widened. Remy's parents demanded full transparency, reportedly pushing for second opinions and outside specialists. Meanwhile, Papoose dug in harder, trusting only the doctors currently assigned to her care. The disagreement wasn't loud this time. It was cold, strategic. According to an insider, there was talk of legal authority, of who had final say if decisions became irreversible. That's when fans realized this wasn't just emotional chaos anymore. This was a fight over control in the worst possible moment. Social media turned ruthless. Some accused Papoose of doing too much. Others praised him as the only person standing between Remy and a system that moves too fast when outcomes look uncertain. Hashtags clashed violently. One side screamed, "Let her family in." The other fired back with, "That's her husband." Every take felt personal, raw, and fueled by fear. Then another twist dropped. A well-known producer, someone who had worked closely with Remy years earlier, posted a cryptic message before deleting it minutes later. "Some battles don't start in the body," it read. "They start in the soul." Screenshots spread instantly. People connected it to the nurse's earlier comment about emotional and psychological stress. Was Remy burning herself out, carrying unresolved trauma, fighting pressures no one saw? The conversation shifted from mystery to mourning, for the possibility that this could have been prevented. Inside the hospital, the atmosphere grew heavier. Doctors reportedly discussed long-term outcomes, rehabilitation possibilities, and the reality that even if Remy pulled through, nothing would be the same immediately. That reality hit Papoose hard. Witnesses say he broke down quietly at her bedside, whispering promises about slowing down, about changing everything, about giving her peace instead of pressure. Those moments weren't recorded. They weren't leaked. But people nearby said you could feel them. Then, just when the narrative felt unbearable, a flicker of hope appeared. Late that night, monitors reportedly shifted. Small changes, subtle responses, nothing dramatic enough for an announcement, but enough to send a ripple through the medical team. Papoose noticed it first. He called for a nurse, then another. Doctors were brought in. No smiles yet, no celebrations, just cautious acknowledgement that something was different. Within hours, Remy's social media posted a message that felt like a lifeline thrown into a storm. The words were short, shaky, and unmistakably hers. "I'm still here, I'm fighting, thank you for the love." That was it, no explanation, no clarity, but it was enough to bring fans to tears. The comments flooded in by the millions. Prayer emojis, heartbreak, relief, hope colliding all at once. Papoose finally stepped out of the room for the first time in days, just long enough to address the chaos he knew was raging outside. His voice reportedly shook as he asked for privacy, not just for Remy, but for both families trying to navigate something they never imagined. "We're taking it hour by hour," he said. "Please understand that." But even as hope crept back in, questions refused to disappear. What exactly caused the collapse? How long had Remy been dealing with this? Why did it take a crisis for the truth to surface?